This is Michael Kowalski, writer and performer of Mothman, True Story, and you are listening to the Unbelievers podcast. I know you wouldn't like it.
There were several groups. One of the principal ones was the reptilians from the Orion complex.
Without any exaggeration, it was like being on fire inside.
Rats were eating you on the side.
This stuff was in my mouth. It felt like it was 500 degrees. It was unbelievably hot.
My first question would be, were you a member of the Church of Satan, a card-carrying member of the Church of Satan?
I don't understand.
There's always an argument for everything. You know, just because somebody can fake something doesn't necessarily mean it's
and we found a life form. And that's when I started shitting my pants.
So for the person who called, I am carrying an alien.
An alien baby. We covered right here, okay?
Okay.
Something is happening. What is it? That's the question. So do UFOs exist? It depends on what you mean exist.
1994, a year of groundbreaking debuts that defined popular culture for years to come. Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, TV's Friends, the Sony PlayStation, and the paranormal phenomenon simply known as rods. Tonight, we discuss the turbulent career of the man who discovered the mysterious aerial anomalies called rods, Jose Escamilla. A multi-talented and compelling filmmaker who spent decades trying to convince the world that his discovery was in fact real, that rods were real. So join us now for this very special Rodcast that may be our final examination of rods and the man behind them, Jose Escamilla, and the passion of the rods, right here on the program where you continue to learn to unlearn everything you know. Hello and welcome to the Unbelievers podcast. I'm your host, Russ Ryan, and I'm joined tonight by my co-host in California, Drea Mora. Hello, Drea.
Hi.
And in New York City, our soundboard producer and engineer, Rob Oakey.
Hello. Theodore, don't.
What's up, guys?
Oh, hey, man. How y'all doing? And
What's
yes,
happening?
Rob's made the big move. You know, I've been in a new studio so far this season, but Rob is now in New York City proper. How's it feel?
It feels good. It feels good. I'm living in the nosebleeds of the Upper West Side, and
nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's cool to be in New York.
Yeah, I love when my nose bleeds. That's so cool, though. You guys realize we've actually all moved this year?
Yeah,
even Jude. Yeah,
wow.
Even Brendan.
Jude too.
You know,
wow, that's so weird. That's really weird. That is really freaking weird now that I think about it.
It's been a lot of activity this past year.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully, I think we're all in a good place right now. I think we're settled for a bit. And this is it. This is me really settling into season 2. So let's get into it now. We're going to talk about, I've been wanting to talk about it. And here we go. Jose Escamilla, the passion of the rods. Woo! Yes, let there be rods. Oh God, you knew it was coming. Yes, that music can only mean one thing. Today we are going to be discussing a topic that is near and dear to my heart, rods, of course. But more than that, we will be talking about the man behind the rods, and that is, of course, Jose Escamilla, who has an official rods-related title, and it ain't champion of the rods. Now, can you guys guess what his actual official rod title is?
Oh man, Rod Master.
What about you, Rob?
The rod holder? I don't know.
Ooh,
well, it's actually discoverer of the rods phenomenon.
Oh.
It's a very long time.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Rod's discovery.
That makes sense.
It does make sense.
He's also known as a producer / director / composer. Now tonight, we are going to talk about the incredible life of Jose Escamilla, and I'm going to start by talking about his early life. Now, Jose was born on March 25th, 1951 in Roswell, New Mexico. Yes.
What?
He was
interesting.
See that we just learned to live in the darkness. He was born in the darkness, Jose Escamilla.
You see, now just to give you an idea. I want you guys to have an idea where this man's coming from. Now, he was a musician. He played in bands starting around the mid-'60s, eventually becoming a composer. He was also a very talented video editor and director, and these combined skills were put to use in the paranormal field starting in 1994 when Jose filmed strange aerial phenomenon in Roswell, New Mexico. Now, this led to what would become his claim to paranormal fame with the discovery of what we all know today as rods or skyfish. Now, do you guys know who was a huge early adopter of rods and championed Jose Escamilla on a national level? Art Bell.
Oh, well, that makes sense. So far, I know it really does. I didn't mean to do that.
Look, you got a guy from Roswell filming rods. Of course, it's 1994.
This so far, this makes sense.
Of course it does. And the discoverer of the rods, that's what I'm going to just call him the discoverer of the rods sometimes, was on Coast to Coast many times with both Art and George Norrie. His first appearance was on December 17th, 1996, but unfortunately, the archives must be incomplete because even I couldn't dig up the very first appearance. I can't find it. Oh. So if someone can find that, please let me know.
If you can't find it, if you can't find the rods,
I don't
nobody's
think
finding those rods.
Us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be you. Huh. Well, we'll get somebody to dig it.
I need help with that, please. December 17th, 1996. But we do have Art Bell in 1999 about, guess what? I'm in. Rods.
He looked at the phenomenon of rods. You remember rods? You remember Jose Escamilla? And rods? Jose has been investigating rods now for a long time. What the hell are rods? You're saying, well, you're going to find out tonight. Better than that, if you have a computer, you better get busy, because just prior to airtime, I watched the videotape that Jose Escamilla sent me on rods, and I must tell you, it blew my mind.
Whoa. Art is super pumped about rods, and I know you complained last week about the lack of sound clips. We are starting off hot this week. Let's hear soundboard one.
It blew my mind.
Yeah.
He blew something. Yeah, I don't know why you guys are so easily excitable about rods. Like they're pretty cool, but it's his what's it called? His enthusiasm is contagious.
He called him Jose Escamilla.
Escamilla. He recognizes that pronunciation, so I was actually going to stick with that. But keeping that excitement going, Art now welcomes Jose onto the show. And Jose has a brand new rod video, and Art is so excited to be able to post this video on his website for the listeners to see for themselves. See, this is still the early days of streaming videos. This is like a big deal that Art has an actual new video and a guy on there. He doesn't let anyone call in that hasn't seen the video. Like, he's like, get a computer, go to the library, do what you have to do. You have to see this rod. So in this next clip, Art tells Jose about he and his wife's reaction to these new rods.
I sat down with my wife, Ramona, and I watched the rods videotape, and my jaw hit the floor. From the early days of your research to what you have now produced, and the evidence you now have, is unblinking believable. I mean,
all right. I told you this was soundboard heavy. Before I go on, let's hear it over two.
Unblinking believable. I mean,
yeah, we should change our name to that. Unblinking Believable podcast now.
I've never heard.
Unblinking podcast.
I've never heard that. Unbleeping on that, but never heard.
Unblinking Believable. I mean.
Yeah.
Hey, look,
no,
look,
it sounds
if you're
like
a radio
pretty
guy,
good term to use.
It is. If you're a radio guy dealing with the FCC, hey, I love it. Hey, let's get all that toilet language out of there, Art. I love that. Unblinking Believable.
Unblinking Believable. I mean.
So the interview begins with Jose describing how he became the discoverer of the rods. This is an important origin story here.
How did you stumble into what we call rods?
Okay, back in 1994, March 5th, 1994, I was in Roswell, New Mexico, visiting my mom and my sister, who still reside there. I originally grew up in Roswell, and I've lived in Los Angeles for 20 years, worked in the entertainment business as a film and video editor. And, after the Northridge earthquake, I went home to see my mom and my little sister, and March 5th, 1994, I get a phone call from Midway, New Mexico, which is 9 miles south of Roswell, and they tell me there's UFO activity out there. So I bring the video camera, and I filmed 16 minutes of what I thought would be the only UFO experience I'd ever have. I started looking at the footage frame by frame, and I go, man, this is amazing. This is the first time I'd ever been involved in anything like this. So I was back there on Saturday, March 19th, and I started filming again, making a promo for hard copies, what it was. And something passed by, and I could see it in the viewfinder. I kept thinking, and you can hear me verbalize on the original video, I said, that's a bug, that's a bird, that's a bug. Things were zipping by that I could detect in the viewfinder. When I started looking at the video, I noticed that there was something that flew by that looked like a snake in the sky.
Oh, so see, this all started in Roswell, where Jose is originally from. I think that's really interesting as far as this whole discovery of this phenomenon goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, like I said before, Roswell, it's just too perfect that it's not.
Roswell. Yeah, they need to rename it. They do need to rename it Roswell now.
He even went so far as to do a thing called Roswell Rods. He never put Rodswell together. Oh, come on.
I know, man. Yeah. Slacking.
I haven't heard that enthusiasm since this.
He goes, there's rods on your tape.
Yeah. I recognize that level of enthusiasm he has when he's talking about rods.
It's a bug. It's a bird. It's a bug.
Yeah, and he can recognize those things like we said in our earlier one, where it was like, yeah, that's bird, that's bug, that's sparrow, that's rod, there's another one. So Art now asked the one question that we all have regarding rods. What's the deal with rods, man?
Why are they on our tapes?
You want to venture a guess? What the hell are these, Jose?
Gee, I'm back to where I was back in '94. I don't have the clearest notion as to what they are. I just know that it's a living entity, life form of some kind that has the ability to traverse both mediums of liquids, and I'm talking the ocean and the sky, without any effort,
In other words, they can go through things.
They can go through the water, emerge into the ocean, come out of the ocean, and I don't know, they're just an incredible creature of some kind, unlike any other thing on the planet.
And they can also apparently go into the Earth and emerge from the Earth, and they can apparently go through human beings and do so on a fairly regular basis. In fact, actually, they seem, in some cases, attracted to human beings.
Yeah, I don't think they go through them, per se, because I've investigated that one shot of what we thought that this one rod went through the woman's head. Remember that shot?
Yeah, of course.
I looked at the master footage, and the rod object does not penetrate her head. What it does, it goes in front of her face.
Okay, it's in front of that.
Yeah, it's so translucent that you can't really see it right in front of her right eye.
Oh, man.
Okay, so they aren't trying, they are really trying to nail down this thing, but they're definitely not trying to penetrate our heads, as they say, but I think they are trying to fly in our mouths, so I still suspect that.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that I really don't believe in rods, but either way, I don't want...
You gotta take yourself back. We're still, this is like 1999 rods.
Russ, you heard, they don't fly in your mouth, they fly in front of your mouth.
It's up to you to put them in your mouth.
Yeah, it looks like they're going in your mouth, but they're just in front of. They're just by your mouth. They're not in your mouth.
Around and near the vicinity of your mouth.
And they only seem to be bothering Jose. Now remember, Jose Escamilla, he is a trained video editor by profession, so he is perfectly suited to analyze anomalies caught on video. And in the case of rods, the explanation that always comes up is birds and bugs, right? Well, here is his statement on that being the cause of rods.
The way the investigations have gone now, we've eliminated all the possibilities.
I know.
I mean, even Philip Klass, he did not even debunk us last year when we did the presentation at the symposium.
Philip Klass, in fact, took notice and said, oh my, very interesting, didn't he?
Yeah, he said, look, it's definitely not a hoax. He said, if it is a hoax, he definitely fooled me, And, Mr. Klass,
For Phil Klass, that's like an endorsement. Mm-hmm. Believe me,
it is.
I know Phil.
That's the first time that he's ever not debunked something. Instead, he said, I'd like to see further evidence. And look, we do too.
Wow. Even Philip Klass, famed debunker, can't debunk these things at the time. That's
cover up the goddamn liar.
No, he never said that. Jose Escamilla and him were having drinks together. They were popping back drinks, discussing this. And Philip Klass,
intrigued by the rods. Yeah,
I would love to hear
the power of rods.
I'd love to hear the actual sound clip of what Philip Klass had to say, because I don't think he was really that into these rods.
Like, oh,
he must have been late
interesting.
for something and left his symposium early. I don't know what it was. I don't know why, but they both seem to. And Art agrees. You hear Art. Art knows. You hear that in Art. You know that he's talking about. He's like, oh, Philip Glass, of course. Ha 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 ha. I used to see poor Travis Walton. They dragged him on a game show where he had to tell the truth or something.